need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
Hello there. I hope you guys are having a great week. I am having lots of fun because for the first time in a long time, we entertained. We had friends over. And I don't know why it's taken us such a long time, but with the baby and kids and school and whatever, the kids keep having play dates, but there have been no parent play dates. And so it was very exciting when we had a couple over and we made dinner, and I made my famous cheesy potatoes, which I haven't made and it feels like years. And it was so nice. But the whole reason that this has anything to do with interior design is that patio design is so important and can really make or break an entertaining experience during the summertime. And we had this patio last year and it was great. It was our first summer with this patio because our last patio was epic. It was wraparound and it had such great shade, and yet it had a sunny part and it was right off the dining room. So it was just so easy to take plates and platters out there. And if you have seen my skin on YouTube or seen any pictures of me, I do not like the sun. Love the summer, love the shade. So this patio is in full sun. No overhang. Of course, we do have some umbrellas, but luckily it faces east. So by the time I'm ready to hang out there, it's well into the afternoon because I am a late riser. I get up around 10 a.m. So by the time I'm ready to have lunch or do anything, typically it's quite shaded by the house. But the house is yellow and teal. Two colors that I love. I think it looks so sweet, so charming. These were not choices that I made, but now I can't imagine the house any other way. It is so lovely, and it feels just like stepping out and being in Provence or something with these pastel Easter type colors that are so soothing and summery. But then the previous owners went and got these bright cherry red Adirondack chairs. And these are very nice chairs. They're like kind of made of that synthetic material that isn't wood, but kind of replicates wood, but is actually a plastic. And they are so beautiful and were so expensive, but they are cherry red. And if there was a color that I absolutely would not have put with teal and butter yellow, it would have been this cherry red. It just feels so shockingly disconcerting, so random, right? So I have been tucking them away back in the back of our property around a fire pit, which means they never get used. Well, this patio needs some love because last year we just put our old furniture on it. We put our old rugs, and a company came to do some work and they wound up throwing out our rugs. And I was like, oh, well, that is so annoying. But also, that is a wonderful opportunity for me to change the look. Now, as you guys know from listening to this podcast, I now have my 60 and my 30. My 60 being the color of the house, that's the butter yellow. My 30 being the teal, that's the color of the doors and the shutters. And then now I have this stinky 10% of this cherry red. I cannot bear to get rid of these chairs, but also since they're not wood, you can't really paint them. So what am I going to do? Well, as you guys know, you need to find an inspiration piece, a piece that has all those colors and more. So that way you can see easily where I derived the color palette, and that way the red makes sense. So I went online and I literally Googled yellow, teal, red outdoor rug. Now, there are not a lot of options, and there are certainly not a lot of nice looking, sophisticated options. But I wound up finding one after hours of searching, and I bought it and I unfurled it outside. And then I got a new coffee table from West Elm. And then I brought those red Adirondack chairs, and everything just came together. And we installed some string lights out there. So there's some atmospheric lighting. And we had a blast on our patio. Now, last year we entertained a few times, and it was always a pleasant experience. But with this new inspiration piece, with the Adirondack chairs, with the string lights that actually can illuminate in any color. So, of course, I put them on teal. It was just so much fun to hang outside. Normally, we would hang outside to eat and then come inside to enjoy the air conditioning and chat. And when it gets a little buggy, this time everybody wanted to stay outside the entire time. Bugs be damned. And we just had the most fun. So, all that is to say that creating an inviting atmosphere inside your home is critically important, not only for your well being, but for your sort of feelings of wanting to socialize and being proud of your house and having people over. But the same can be true of your patio. And you can treat it just the same as an indoor space using the exact same design principles. And you can get the same sort of impact and reward from doing just that. So that's the moral of my July story. And now let me dig into your questions because we have a doozy that came into the mailbag, a really long one. So bear with me while I navigate this text and then describe the pictures. This one comes from Kim from Hoby Sound, Florida. I hope I'm saying that right. So Kim writes, "Hi, thank you so much for answering my question about a new couch, all the layout issues with our living room space, and more. Some background. Our house was built by a modern style architect. It's his own house. So we do have some unique features. I wanted to provide a few more photos and add on to some of the ideas you already had. For one, to clarify, that third odd patch on the door in between the concrete and the wood tile was actually a patch where we removed a funky half wall that divided the kitchen. We have since had the patch repaired so it blends with the concrete floor. So now we only have two different flooring materials instead of three. So, guys, I think I was talking about this space on the podcast with Kelly and Anita. If you haven't listened to that podcast, go back and listen to that before you listen to this one, just so you can get some context. All right, so Kim continues. Second of all, we used to have the TV on the wall to the left of the fireplace, but we didn't like it. So we put a large Christmas tree there that we had to move. We do have windows on every wall. So I included the full view of where our couch faces, a full window to a courtyard. The current couch is very long because after we remodeled and polished the floors, we didn't arrange it back as a sectional. It's just a placeholder for now. I actually wanted to replace our long dining table or move it parallel to the fireplace, but I love the idea of replacing the chairs with something bigger and cozier. And I also love the idea of a pop of color. For the couch, I was looking at the Our House Roland sofa in camel leather, which is cozier and not so stark. I'd love to do a pop of color for the armchairs. Do you think the chairs should swivel towards the fireplace or the TV? Or should we do a separate seating area by the fireplace? We also have a little library item to the our little library area, to the right of the fireplace where my husband would like to put a piano one day. We will be installing a stone tile around the fireplace accent wall and also be doing a slat wood wall treatment behind the TV. More photos attached, including some options I was considering. Excuse some unfinished areas. We are still in a state of rolling renovations. All right. So this is very helpful, Kim. These are a lot of new pictures and new concepts that help us to understand the space a little bit better. Now, like I said, we did quite an extensive description of the space when we last talked on the episode with Kelly and Anita. I will do my best to recap it again now with the new pictures and the new information. And now it's time for a quick commercial break. It's a very long space, guys. It's a very modern space. It has concrete flooring in the living space and the dining space and the sort of fireplace space. But it is such a long, big space that it can be divided into these different zones. In fact, should be divided into these different zones. And then the kitchen is open to all of it, but it has more of like this faux wood tile floor. Um, The kitchen itself has a big black island with part of it being a stone top. It is a very unique space. And then the upper cabinets are also the same wood tone as the flooring. Now, as we move down the space from the kitchen island into sort of the open area, there's two different ceiling lines. One is relatively low at that 8-foot height, but one vaults way up. And that kind of separation where one vaults into the other does kind of create a spatial separation, even though there's no wall there. This is a very complicated space to describe. The other thing to know about this space is that some of the walls are kind of a white or creamy off-white, whereas others are black. That also creates some visual separation in that there's sort of small accent walls. Even one of the ceilings that is a bit lower is black. So it does create these visual separations, making the space feel separate in some ways, even though it's all big and open, but those ceiling lines vary dramatically from area to area. Hard to explain. I do still think the area is laid out incorrectly. I do still think we have a problem in terms of the arrangement of the furniture and certainly the placement of the TV. I know you didn't like the TV adjacent to the fireplace, but I really would consider it. And I definitely want you to move this long sofa. I like the idea of doing something like a warm colored leather, but I would reconfigure this sofa back as the sectional, putting part of the sofa parallel to the swimming pool. Yes, that's right, guys. Outside this window, there is a swimming pool. And putting the other part parallel to the fireplace. In this case, I would put the TV above the fireplace and put it on an angle so that it slants down. I'd do a nice big rug. And then I would consider your idea of putting the dining table parallel to the kitchen. Now, what was wrong with that? I'm just looking back because you said that you already rejected that idea. I mean, it's going to be difficult because you already have a chandelier hanging over where the table is now, and you won't be able to do a chandelier, what with the vaulted ceilings, if you move the table. But I do think moving the table would make sense. The bottom line is, I don't love to give floor planning advice on the podcast because you really do need to try different things and experience different things, especially in a huge open concept layout where there are so many different options to explore. I love the idea of considering a piano, maybe even where the dining table is now, right? Especially if it's like a baby grand or something like this. But unfortunately, this space requires intense consideration and it requires you to be very open with your ideas. And really, because it's hard to understand the size of the space in terms of actual square footage, I would need a floor plan. And then I do my floor plan system. It's called the master layout system. I do it every single time, thoroughly, even in simplistic rooms. I use the master layout system to determine out of all the possible options which one is the best. And of course, part of that is collaborating with my client to see what their priorities are. And you mentioned that you've tried some alternative layouts and haven't been excited by them. I would need to know why you weren't excited by them in order to eliminate these very intuitive choices, like putting the sofa in view of the fireplace directly. That's an intuitive, normal choice. And certainly an architect probably would have had that in mind. So I'm wondering why it didn't work when you tried that before. I would need to know the answers to all of these things before we could really get a holistic understanding of where items should go. Kim, you have a very tricky space, a space that does require professional intervention, in my opinion. Guys, not every space is this complicated. Not every space is this cool and interesting and has so many opportunities. Some spaces are quite straightforward and tell you what you must do with the pieces. In this case, we can make some choices. We can make some off the wall choices, pun intended, but you have to do so being very mindful and ideally using a program like a floor plan software or some kind of graph paper to get really clear on maintaining walkways, sizes of different things, etc. Not an easy space, but a space that will pay off in spades if you do it properly. All right, Kim, I'm sorry I wasn't able to give you more concrete advice, but I do feel like spending extra time considering will save you in the long run, especially because you're considering investing in a leather sofa, which is not a cheap piece, right? You're going to have to make sure that you make the right choice. Kim, I hope that's helped. And it's been great talking with you all again this week. Are you worried that your space might be complicated? Have you been rolling around different scenarios in your head and just can't seem to figure it out? Send your question to affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast. Once again, that's affordableinteriordesign.com/podcast, and I will answer it on air in an upcoming episode. Until next time, everyone, bye. A big thank you to our amazing producer, Catherine Heller, to Aton and the MVCR House Band, and to Affordable Interior Design, the sponsor of this podcast and the premier place to get an amazing look on a budget. Check out affordableinteriordesign.com. If you guys love the show, the very best way to support us is by spreading the word. Tell your friends or write us an awesome review on iTunes. So until next week, guys, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.